Hi, I'm Katy Elwell. I'm the drummer from LIZZARD, and I just want to talk about the fact that I think women rock.
I am the fire, I am burning brighter, roaring like the sun, I am the one.
If someone comes to me and say, "You play well for a girl," that pisses me off. When I was very little, I was always a bit of a tomboy, so I was never like a, girly girl sort of thing. I always used to do guy stuff. I always used to hang out with guys. I don't know. I mean, I used to be into horse riding and stuff that I used to do very seriously. And I don't know. I always did things that were kind of slightly more aggressive style than most girls I knew. I was into like mountain biking and rollerblading, like, sort of freaky style stuff. And I think I sort of grew up not really feeling like a girl, really. I didn't consider myself as a guy. I just didn't really sort of take any notice of either. When I started playing music, I just always was hanging out with guys and playing with guys, and I never really made any separation between, whether I was a girl or a guy, or who were guys and, who I was working with. And it was just kind of easy, really. And I think the thing that helped me there was never sort of putting myself apart from the guys, never thinking, well, I'm a girl and they're guys. I never ever thought that. I just thought, well, we're all people, we're all the same. There's no difference. And that meant that the guys didn't make a difference either. They saw me as one of them, or whatever. It was just like there was no real question. As I started doing drums way more seriously with LIZZARD, I think it started to become apparent that I did need to maybe not work harder than a guy, but I really needed to work hard. There was no excuses, no like, I had to play as well as guys, especially as I like hearing girls play drums, but I hate it personally when you can hear that it's a girl playing drums, because that's just my personal opinion, but I think that then takes you out of the music, because you're thinking, oh, it's a girl playing, and it sort of changes the feel of it. All my favorite drummers are guys, and they're all big solid guys as well. So that was obviously what I wanted to sound like. I wanted to sound like my favorite drummers, and they're all like, Danny Carey, for example, from Tool, who's Hulk. So that was who I was striving to sound like. So for me, sounding like a girl playing drums was not really an option. Drumming is a very tribal, primal, it's a very earthy, grounded kind of instrument, and that seems to pertain more to men. In my experience, is that men are more consistent, they're more grounded, they're heavier, they're more solid, they're more focused, maybe. And I think for girls, focusing is maybe more difficult, because we are more able to multitask than guys, I think, which means that we're able to do something and be thinking of a million different things at once, which is no good for drumming. So that for me is a big, it was a struggle to overcome that, and I'm still struggling to. Just to change the subject slightly, if someone comes to me and say, "You play well for a girl," that pisses me off. What do you mean you play well for a girl? But yeah, if they say, "Well, I thought you were a guy," then I just think, well, just as they were hearing without seeing, they weren't making any difference. They just thought it sounds like a drummer. Because if they think you're a girl, then they sort of see it like, maybe not that I'm a drummer, or do you know what I mean? It kind of changes their perception. But if they just label someone as a drummer or as a musician, they're not putting a gender to it. It's just a drummer. But in most people's minds, a drummer is a guy, unfortunately. So, for them, they think, oh, it's a drummer. So for me, that's a compliment. I'm a drummer, I'm not a girl or a guy. If people say, well, you know, I thought you were a guy, then okay, you know, you thought I was a guy, well, that's cool, and now you know I'm not a guy, does that make a difference, you know? And they go, well, no, it doesn't. So that's cool, you know. Well, that would definitely be Danny Carey from Tool, because I just think he's phenomenal. I think he's a melodic drummer, and he's a heavy drummer, and yet he's got finesse, and he's just so musical, and he's just so impressive to watch. You know, he's such a big guy, and he's just amazing. So he would be my main inspiration. But then, of course, there's many others. I mean, I love Dave Grohl and Josh Freese, and there's just a long list of drummers that I respect. But there's also other people that I find really inspiring, like Bruce Lee, the fighter, and also Conor McGregor, the MMA fighter. Because for me, I mean, drumming is a bit like a combat, you know. And the way these guys have approached their art is, for me, the same as, you know, I approach drumming. It's sort of, it's just all about movement and power and precision and control, and, you know, it's just all of that mixed together. And the way they move and the way they train is just like, you know, completely drumming orientated for me. It's hard to say, really. I mean, one thing that I'm proud of is when, well, for once that, you know, I'm able to go on tour and hold my own, you know, and play on stage in great big venues, and you know, and to actually be able to do that, you know, without freaking out completely, and and to be able to do a good set. But yeah, and also touring with, I've played with some really cool drummers like Terry Bozzio. We've toured with Pat Mastelotto from King Crimson, Tobias Ralph with Adrian Belew. We played with, the last tour we did was with Gavin Harrison and his band, The Pineapple Thief. So I mean, that for me is really, really cool, because they're phenomenal drummers, and it was really, really amazing. But I guess one thing that made that even more amazing, which is going to sound very very kind of egocentric, but I think, you know, when I'm playing with guys like that, so we're opening for these guys, but when people come to see me after the show and they say, like, we couldn't see you because we were at the back, but we thought you were a guy, that I kind of find cool. But another thing is when they say, well, not only that, but you kicked their ass, you kicked Gavin Harrison's ass, you know. Well, I'm quite happy then. That's quite an achievement, I think. It means that all the hard work I've been doing has paid off, and you know, people think it sounds cool. So yeah, that makes me feel proud. Don't think, well, just because you're a girl it makes a difference, because it doesn't. And it only makes a difference if you think it does. Because if you think it does, then the guys will see, they'll think there's a difference. If you don't feel there's a difference, but you have to genuinely just not feel there is one, you know, it's not just saying there isn't, you know, there is no difference. And then the guys won't feel the difference either, and then there's just no problem. So don't separate yourself from whatever you want to do just because you're a girl, because that is just no excuse, you know. Yeah, work hard, you know, you have to work hard. It's not because you're a girl that it's an excuse to not work hard. You know, you've got to work hard, you've got to work just as hard as the guys, maybe more, especially if you're playing a physical instrument. And yeah, I mean, just go for it, you know, just believe in yourself and do what you want to do. You know, don't make limits for yourself that are not actually there, because that's just an excuse to not do it. You know, we're always finding excuses to not do things, whether we're guys or girls, and there's no excuse. You know, just do what you want to do, and if that's your dream, then go for it. You know, that would be all I have to say, really. Just go for it.